All right, we want to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the Cedar Rapids Community School District Board of Education meeting for Monday, May 8th, 2017. We want to welcome everybody, all of our guests here tonight. And with that, would somebody like to read the approval of the revised agenda?
I move that the agenda for Monday, May 8th, 2017 be approved and set forth that each item is considered ready for discussion and/or action.
Great. Is there a second for the revised agenda? And this is a roll call vote.
Director Jacobo. Aye. Director Meisterling. Aye. Director Humbles.
Aye.
Director Westerkamp.
Aye.
Director Anhalt.
Aye.
Director Jansen. Aye. President Laverty.
Next, we'll move it into employee recognition. I'll turn it over to Rod Dooley.
Board members, if you want to come this direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till he.
President Laverty and board directors, the Cedar Rapids Community School District and the Foundation are proud to honor employees who have spent 25, 30, 35, 40, and even 45 years of service in the district. So we're going to call off their names. Some could not make it, some are here, and so we're looking forward to recognizing them. So we're going to start with our 25 years of service. Michael Baird from Madison. Yep. Lita Bowl from Jefferson. Hold on. Sorry. Timothy Callahan with Washington. Michelle Caridas from Madison. Brenda Carter from Washington. Donna Cherapar with Harding. Chris Chikeli from Harrison. Parrish Copeland from Taft. Sherry Cox from Shirley Cox from Johnson. Lisa Ernst with Johnson. Diana Gears Harding. David Gerlach with Harding. Gary Hatfield with Taft. Brett Hoyer Kennedy. Dennis Heenick from Kennedy. Christine Kilpatrick Kennedy. Mary King with the ELSC. Diane Knapp with Erskine. Diane Kutch with Hoover. Candace Lynch with Johnson. Sue McDonald with Garfield. Tracy Milota with the ELSC. Cheryl Monsef with Jefferson. Constance Ripley with the ELSC. Donna Sedlacek with the ELSC. Carla Swayze McKinley. Deborah Volinsky with Erskine. And Kenneth Zimmerman with Garfield. So those were our 25 year of service. Now to our 30 years. Kathleen Barnes with Wilson. Brian Cater, ELSC. Diana Kristen Hoover. Janine Crawley Harding. Deborah DeHaan Hoover. Donald Finker, ELSC. Dina Furry, Cleveland. Tom Hampton, Cleveland. Terry Harris, ELSC. Karen Carr with Jackson. Marcia Lone with Metro. Angela McConnell, Kennedy. Leslie Nelson with Kennedy. Karen Slayman with ESLC. Diane Neeson from ELSC, Randy Ray with Washington, Dr. Diane Snablin Kramer with Roosevelt, Larry Simmons with the ELSC, and that is it for our 30 years of service employees. 35 years. Lois Bassett with Jefferson. Brenda Hildebrand Hoover. Dean Yadick with Taft. Gary Kapmeyer with ELSC. So those are our 35-year employees. So 40 years, Thomas Day with the ELSC. Tom Day. And our 45-year service, Barry Wilson with Kennedy. So being the math person that I am, I decided to add up all their years of service. 925 years of service. Amazing. Congratulations.
President Lavery, I don't know, do you have to acknowledge the next item in the agenda, or if we can just roll to it? All right, very good. It's always good to get clarity from your bosses about what you should do next. So, May is School Board Recognition Month and an opportunity for local schools and communities to honor Iowa's nearly 1,900 locally elected school board members for their dedication to children in schools. School boards provide our community's children with a sound education, which is the most important investment we can make. We're proud of our elected leaders in this community and want to thank them for their service. They donate countless hours of personal time in service to district, students, and staff. School Board Recognition Month is the time to say thank you and to recognize their continuing commitment to our district. School board members develop policies and make decisions that impact the entire community. In our district, they're responsible for approximately 16,500 students, just over 2,700 employees, nearly $250 million budget, and 114 square miles of district property. Tonight, representatives of Executive Council will greet our school board members as I introduce them and present a certificate from the Iowa Association of School Board that reads, "I believe in public education." With that, we have our first one, and it is Keith Westerkamp.
Let's do these first, and then we'll have our...
Okay, very good. Next is Mary Meisterling. And President John Laverty. Director Kristen Jansen. Director Rafael Jacobo. Director Nancy Humbles. And Vice President Gary Anhalt. Shake hands.
Yeah, we know a lot about that.
Me too.
Colorful, yeah.
All right, well, that was fun. Yeah. Awesome to see all the folks in the district that put all this time and effort into helping our kids succeed every day. And we know there's many things that go into that, from holding their hands, telling them that they can do it, believing in them, and cheering along with them when they succeed. So lots of good things there. Next, we'll move into the superintendent's report, so I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Buck.
All right, thank you. Great news. While all sixth grade seats have been filled for the 2017-18 school year at the new Roosevelt Creative Corridor Business Academy Magnet School, increased interest in the program has given us the opportunity to open more 7th and 8th grade seats. The additional seats are still limited, and students will be accepted through a blind lottery. The new deadline for lottery applications is Friday, June 2nd. Interested families will find the application information on our website. As you know, the Roosevelt Creative Corridor Business Academy opens in the fall as a 6th through 8th grade project-based middle school. The learning environment will focus on integrating the areas of STEAM, leadership and entrepreneurship, and global systems. This month, we'd like to thank the Cedar Rapids Community School Foundation for hosting senior walk events through all of our elementary schools. As you can see, seniors from Jefferson, Kennedy, and Washington high schools are dressed in cap and gown and walk through the hallways of their elementary school, while elementary students congratulate them. What a great way to show our younger students what they can accomplish as they journey through their education, and what a neat way for our seniors to connect with their past. As a reminder, I'd like to invite the public to attend our graduation ceremonies that will be taking place Wednesday through Saturday on May 24th to 27th, and the location and times are available on the screen. My final item tonight is a video highlighting the Mentors in Violence, or MVP program. MVP is a peer leadership model that focuses on the role of the bystander in situations of bullying or violence. The model seeks to empower those who might otherwise remain silent to speak up and speak out against these behaviors. In collaboration with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Center for Violence Prevention at UNI, our Cedar Rapids high schools are in the process of implementing the program and will have a kickoff event on May 30th at the Lynn County Regional Center on Boyson Road. Students from all 4 high schools will assemble to learn more about their role as mentors and to get a sense of what that commitment involves. This is a great example of the work we're doing to implement one of the recommendations from the Safe, Equitable, Thriving Task Force. The video highlights the expected outcomes of this program and provides compelling rationale for embarking on the MVP journey.
There are all kinds of forms of abuse that exist or that occur because of assumptions made, perceptions about what it is, how I should act as a young man, how you should perform or act as a young woman. As students date and break up and date, in all of those activities, it's important to really understand and have a really firm grip on what is healthy and what's unhealthy. MVP helps to carefully and slowly build a culture and climate of care, concern, and respect for those who are victims of assault or bullying. And on the other side of the coin, MVP also gently holds people accountable for their actions and behaviors and asks individuals themselves and others to think about what their words, their actions, their innuendos are conveying and communicating.
We really want to bring sexual assault, rape, and these types of problems up to the surface. We want to make them known. We want to teach people to see that these are wrong. In society, these should not be there. Starting with freshmen is a really good idea because we teach them younger that this is bad. This shouldn't be happening in school, out of school, even when you get to college.
I can remember as a school administrator and as a staff person running around with our heads cut off trying to put out fires and address issues, and all the time never realizing that I was missing the biggest resource of all, and it was the students. And so we explored. We had meetings with parents and community partners. What we were missing in secondary schools, or in high schools particularly, was we were missing this ongoing conversation around prevention. That's what I like about the MVP model. It challenges students to engage and to use their positive influence. And those mentors, those upperclassmen, they really do help transition those young students into learning from them what it means to be a student in this school. What are the challenges, what are the successes? What do students do in this school besides the academics? How do you navigate in and out of relationships, whether it's a teammate, a classmate, or a significant other relationship? MVP provides a platform for those discussions, not by authority figures, supported by experts, supported by adults, but delivered by student mentors.
One of my mentees came up to me and asked me, how do I make friends? And I thought, like, wow, this is huge. Like, he came to me asking how to make friends. I thought to myself, how do I make friends?
With MVP, we have 4 goals at Waukee High School. First goal is to raise awareness. Second goal is to open up dialogue around these conversations that are tough to have with our young adults today. Our third goal is to inspire student leadership. And then our fourth goal is to provide students with options.
Students want to talk about these issues. In fact, they already are. They talk about them at lunch, they talk about it on the bus, weekends, online, and MVP provides an opportunity to guide the conversation, but not tell kids what to think.
I have noticed within our school that the way that I hear people talking about issues and talking about women and dating violence and all that sort of thing has shifted even for the 3 years that I have been at the high school. You can hear something so many times from a teacher or an adult, but especially at this age, sometimes it feels like they don't understand what you're going through, and you know that your peers and people that are your age have gone through some of the same things, are living in the same environment and community that you are.
The benefits to the mentor are not only do they learn about the issues that we face in society, but they gain skills for employment. They gain communication skills, leadership skills, decision-making skills. These are all skills that I know employers are looking for. So this is good for their CVs, it's good for their job application forms, it's good for university application forms. From an educational perspective, if we can have young people come into school feeling safe, supportive, able to deal with all the nonsense that's going on in their lives, they're going to learn. They're going to attain and they're going to contribute to the success of Scotland and the success of America. There's no doubt about that. If we can get relationships right in schools and communities, violence will come down. And that's why when this work is important for partners, police, teachers, voluntary organisations to come together to do this type of work. One thing we find, young people feel more empowered now, they feel more aware of what's going on, and it's that, that notion, the most powerful weapon in the world is human soul on fire. And what MVP doing is it's igniting the fire in them.
So we've spent this year building capacity in staff. We're working on identifying students. We're excited to get it started in the fall. Things, proven strategies for the kind of data you see up there. So we're excited about it. So.
Terrific information. Thank you, Dr. Buck. Appreciate that. Next, are there any board reports? No. We do want to recognize that it's Teacher Recognition Week as well. So the board is very thankful for all of our teachers in all of our schools and all the different roles that they have, and would like to thank all of our staff, but especially the teachers in this week. So thank you to them. With that, we'll move on to communications, delegations, and petitions. This item is set aside for the board to hear comments about items of interest or concern from the public. And so when I read your name, please approach the podium over here, and you can begin by stating your name, your address, and your organization or group if you're representing a group. You'll have up to 5 minutes for your comments, and Laurel Day, the board secretary, will start the timer on the monitors once you begin your comments. So again, this is not a interaction with the board, but simply a time for you to address the board with any concerns that you may have as appropriate. So the first and only request to speak to the board tonight is from Lawrence Winklowski. So Mr. Winklowski, if you'd approach the podium. Welcome.
Welcome. Lawrence Winklowski, 4234 Morel Road, Northeast. A couple weeks ago, I'm over in that driver's license station over on off of Edgewood, and I think it's southwest side, and I'm sitting there looking around, and I go, man, this place is depressing. All I had were these barren, brown walls and that, and so I go, what could be done to liven them up? And I went over and suggested to the one of the people there, hey, why don't you talk to some local schools and get them to give you some artwork to put up there? And and they also had these big yellow balls. I said, hey, why don't you have, out in front, I go, why don't you have them, some kids paint them? And we're talking, recently we've been talking about, how to show the community, put our better foot forward. Why not use student artwork? Why not, when you go into your dentist office or your doctor's office and they got some, mass-produced painting or that, why don't you suggest, hey, why don't you talk to a school about getting some of their artwork up there? Why not at the airport? I know it was in Atlanta a few years ago, and Atlanta's airport was filled with artwork. I mean, I can't think of a better way of making people recognize our district, because it's something we're supposedly known for, is being creative and being artistic. So that's an idea. Next thing, we have all these different committees and groups within our community to talk about diversity and address all these problems. I don't even, in some of the school districts involved with, it's a PTA, it's a city, and all these other groups. There's so many of them, I don't even know what they all are. But it's almost like, are they really working together, or are they just all working separately? And if you don't know about them, they're not going to be as efficient as they could be. And somehow, I don't know what the solution is, but somehow we need to get, I think, these committees, and that we should have less of them, but have stronger ones. And that. And then last comment was, it was sort of brought to my attention through an email a while back, and I had been thinking about it, that I come up here and address the school board. A lot of times I shouldn't be addressing the school board, because it's not really, the topics aren't really school board related. They may, and I know especially in the past they've been, sometimes teacher related, staff related, this or that issue that had nothing to do with what was on the agenda. However, I guess another problem with that is that it's a one-way conversation. I talk, and unless I ask for a response, no one gets back to me. And then I know there was a time that someone always got back to whoever spoke, but changes in administration and that, and also I guess you'd have to say now that there's a change in style of the way the district is being run. But I'd really like to be able to have different meetings throughout the year where maybe we'd have transportation up here and food services for a meeting where the public could come in and ask them questions and get answers. And that, possibly, secondary education, some of these other programs, and that, that we are, in elementary education. But I think, there's got to be a way in which we can, I think, better communicate with the community, and that somehow that it's bi-directional communication instead of just one way. So that's all I have to say. So everyone enjoy your these great spring days we're having here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Winkowski. All right, next we'll move on to our consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like to pull for further discussion or questions? Mary?
I'd like to pull personnel report for separate consideration.
Absolutely, yep. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just BA 17318.
Okay. You have a question or a comment?
Yeah, just a couple of quick.
Go ahead, yep.
And then let's see. Yeah, it's a TransFinder bus routing software system. So I'm pretty excited to see that. I know it had come up before. I had an opportunity kind of when this agenda was first put out there to kind of go take a look at some of the stuff that they had existing. Now, I think it presents some good opportunities for parents to have an idea of what we're doing busing-wise. but do we have a plan? And I know it's kind of, at least in the agreement, it's kind of phased out over several years of how we'll provide either notice or some kind of education to parents that would be using that.
In terms of parent use or the user-friendly aspects of it?
Yes,
We'll have some updates to our district website, our transportation department website.
Okay.
With some quick reference and answer type links for them to go on. They can go through and browse on where they would not be able to change any information, but certainly look through. There's probably 4 or 5 that on the TransFinder website that are being recommended to us for easy parent use, navigating through it. They'll be obviously limited to what they could see or change, but yes, we'll have some available on our district transportation website that'll be updated as well.
Okay, because what I was kind of afraid of is that if there's user issues or problem with browsers or mobile device, that you guys would end up fielding a bunch of calls. So I don't know if they would end up fielding those on our behalf, like being some kind of tech support, or if they would end up going to you for any issues like that.
We should still be able to electronically answer or get back to parents
One of those
very
questions.
easily, directly with excluding TransFinder in that piece.
Okay.
So should be an easy communication link.
Okay, and then so the information that was there, I guess the key is going to be that it's presented properly. I know when I looked at it, it almost looks as though if somebody were to go to that site, that there was a bus route near you that, hey, you know what, there's a bus route, my kid could go ride it. So I think the key is going to be just kind of that education, that it's more informative. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can walk up to any bus stop or any route and hop on it, right?
You're correct. They'll still be required to go through their, the school staff will still have
Okay.
a general guide for them in terms of where our routes are at or placed and the stop locations and times. We'll certainly have those, your neighborhood, you punch in an address, this is the closest bus stop to you that you would likely be assigned to.
Okay. And then the plan is to go live by fall, by next school year?
We'll
or
have
is
it, we'll have it this fall.
This fall, okay.
Some training will
Sounds
kick
great.
in over the next month. Hard and heavy, yes.
Okay, I'm excited for that. Thank you very much.
We are too. We are too.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the personnel report?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great, and this is a roll call vote on the consent agenda minus the personnel report.
Director Meisterling. Director Humbles.
Aye.
Director Westerkamp.
Aye.
Director Anhalt.
Aye.
Director Jansen.
Aye.
Director Jacobo. President Laverty.
Aye. And next, we'll have a separate vote on BA 17009/18, the personnel report as amended. Are there any other conversations about the personnel report? No. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the personnel report as submitted?
I move that we approve the personnel support as submitted.
Is there a second? Second. Great. And this, again, is a roll call vote.
Director Humbles. Aye. Director Westerkamp.
Aye.
Director Anhalt.
Aye.
Director Jansen. Aye. Director Jacobo.
Aye.
Director Meisterling. Abstain. President Laverty.
Aye. Great, thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to the learning and leadership portion of our meeting. This is a great time. We're very excited to have some young people with us today from the Leaders, Believers, and Achievers program. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to
You start over to Al. Al, are you ready?
Al O'Bannon.
Yeah, so excited
Welcome.
to have you here. Yeah, thanks, Al. Let's do it. Let's do
Exactly.
it. I love it.
And you are first up.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you a lot, appreciate it. Good evening, I'll be short for my side of it. I'm Al O'Bannon, Executive Director for Leaders, Believers, and Achievers. I brought some support with us to kind of give you a different voice. I know most of you have heard my voice throughout the years, so I won't ask you what you think about that. But I want you to hear from them, how they feel about the program, what they get out of it, and how they're inspired to be tomorrow's hope, Leaders, Believers, and Achievers. First up is going to be Jordan O'Neill. He's going to go through a short PowerPoint. He is our program coordinator. And then we'll have each student speak to you and some of our supporters. Thank you very much.
Hello. I'll keep this short too, so these guys can come up here and share their stories. My name is Jordan O'Neill. This is my second year with the program as program coordinator. I'll just jump into this. This is our logo. Okay.
You good?
Our mission statement, it's the LBA Foundation seeks to inspire hope in tomorrow's leaders, believers, and achievers. This is just a little overview as well. So I just outlined leaders. We look to create more futures in our more future leaders in our community schools and beyond. Believers, we've all been told we can't do something, so we think everybody deserves to dream. Achievers, just having a little persistence along the way, and knowing what you want to do it's not always a happy trail. We all have personal struggles to deal with, so just overcoming those. Who does our program apply to? Al started the program 6 years ago with 12 students at McKinley. The program is welcome to all district students. There's currently 92 students from Cedar Rapids Community School District and the College Community School District. And the way that we try to get students to join our program every year is in the fall. We go into the lunchroom and we just try to recruit them with a orientation. Parents are also welcome to be a part of our program. If there's anything that they need assistance with, we're there for them too. And we currently have 8 staff members and volunteers that help mentor students. A little bit about statement of purpose. Every student, upon joining the program, they have to have one, so we know what they want to accomplish or get out of the program. We don't just have them come in and just aimlessly hang out or be there to babysit them, I guess. We want to make sure that they're on a track and they're setting goals, and we're there to just aid them along the way, whatever they want to do. We don't make them do anything. So we make them write a statement of purpose of what they like to do. This is just kind of a breakdown of our each night. So each night starts with a video speaker or activity. The students will follow with a presentation. We ask for one thing they learned that day, one positive choice, and then a goal for the following day, just to make sure they're always having that goal to achieve. And then the reason why we do this is we think public speaking is a skill. I'm not comfortable up here right now, so it all benefits us. We think it'll benefit them in the long run. We all know in high school, as in college, you get up here and you present. You got to be proud of who you are. We also think that they can learn a lot from their peers if they're just respectful and attentive. A lot of times kids come in and say that they didn't learn nothing. If we have 30 kids in there and they sit down and listen, that's the opportunity to learn 30 things right there. So that's how I look at it. The skill building portion will follow. Some go to dance, some go to cooking, some go to basketball. If they have homework, they're more than welcome to bring it there to programming. And this is when programming is. So Mondays through Thursdays we have it 6 to 8 o'clock. Mondays and Wednesdays we're at McKinley. Tuesday to Thursday we're at Roosevelt. And this is just a little more overview of what the outcomes we're looking from our program is. Me and Al talk about it a lot, is we're just looking for an increase in habits of leadership and then increasing intellectual capacity. So maybe gaining knowledge in things that you're not interested in, and maybe you gain an interest in them. And then engaging in your community. This is just a few impacts that we've had from this past year. So there's a 5% increase in GPA for all students in LBA combined. There's a 27% increase for 11th graders in the program. And then there was significant reductions in grades 6 through 7. Suspensions held steady, and there was a slight decline in attendance from LBA students. And I'll just hand it off to Theo.
Hello, my name is Safilia Abimana, and I'm in 9th grade. I go to Jefferson High School. I've been in the Leaders, Believers, Achievers program for 3 years now, and I won't be talking much about my experience of the program. However, my academical goal is to get into a great pre-med program like Duke or Harvard. I used to feel like it was far-fetched and unattainable, but through LBA and the lessons that I've learned, I feel like it's attainable. And one of our counselors, Miss McIntosh, my counselor at Jefferson High School, could not be here tonight, so she asked me to read her letter of support. As a high school counselor, I am energized and excited that there is a type of program available for our emerging adults. The enormous support LBA has given to our young people in the community is invaluable. It is a huge piece of the puzzle that needs to be available to our youth in order to help them reach their goals. I love the emphasis on education and reinforcement on writing and speaking in an extracurricular organization. When students hear a message at school that they are also hearing at home and in an extracurricular group, it starts to truly reinforce them necessity of strong communication skills for achieving in any post-high school plan. The partnership with Mr. O'Bannon and LBA is willing to create with parents and schools and the community truly shows that it does indeed take a village, and our young people are worth every effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo.
Hi, my name is Aubrey Moore, and I'm a junior at Washington High School. I've been a part of LBA for 3 years now. Being a part of LBA has been such a great experience. It's opened me up to many different opportunities that I'm grateful to say that I've participated in. Last summer, I was invited to a program, a medical program sponsored by Harvard called the National Association of Future Scientists and Physicians. LBA funded me so I would be able to attend. It was life-changing, and I'm very appreciative. While I was there, I got to hear incredible stories from brilliant people such as Sri Bose, the 2011 Google Science Fair winner at the age of 17, U.S. Army Captain Florent Goldberg, who received a Medal of Honor from President Barack Obama, Larry Wester, the first recipient of a bionic eye, and many more. My dream has always been to become a neurosurgeon, and so being in this environment and with these people for these 3 days really lit a fire under me to want to reach that goal even more. I learned so much while I was there, and things that will follow me for the rest of my life. I'm forever indebted to the LBA program, and I know that it's great for kids, and I hope that it keeps growing and expanding. I am a leader, I am a believer, I am an achiever, and I can confidently say so because of the skills that this program has prepared me with. Thank you for letting me talk to you today, and I hope you have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Hello, my name is Andreas Williams. I'm in 7th grade. I go to Roosevelt Middle School. Since I've been in LBA, it inspired me by becoming a better basketball player and an all-around person. No matter what my coaches put me through, it's been a good year with them. It inspired me to believe in myself, because if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to get that far. Also, my coaches wants me to achieve my goals I set, because if you set a goal, you have to achieve it, because if you don't achieve them, there's no point of setting them. This is how I've been a better person in LBA, and yeah.
Thanks, Andreas.
My name is Symphony Harris. I'm in 7th grade. I go to Roosevelt Middle School. And in LBA, we share what we learn every day so we can educate our peers on what they may not have known before. We share our positive choices because it is great to spread positivity and make kind choices. We share our goals so that it can become a habit. It doesn't matter if it's big or small or little. I mean, we should set goals to make us a better person. Oh, LBA is a place for us to grow.
Thanks, Symphony.
Sorry. I am very glad we have this opportunity. Sorry. To learn how to to learn how to cook.
You want me to read it? It's okay. It's okay. My name's Ashley Armstrong. This is my friend Laura Seifer. We are supervisors in the Healthy Eating Program with LBA. I think what she was just trying to kind of say to you guys, I can actually just read her letter for you. She said, I am very glad we have this opportunity to learn how to cook with our volunteers and our friends. They get to cook a lot of stuff that they actually came up with. She referenced when we made our own homemade noodles. We made our own homemade egg noodles in there. And one thing that I definitely believe, you want to go? No? Okay. One thing I definitely believe, while this is a healthy eating program, they take away nutritional facts that they can use every day. But also, these kids conceptualized what they wanted to make. They came up with the game plan, and they follow it through. The end product is their own, and their own completely. So not only are they learning these new things, but they're learning how to incorporate it in their everyday life as well. So that's all I had to say. Do you want to say anything more?
Okay, that's good.
All right.
Thanks,
guys.
thanks, you guys. Thanks, Ashley.
Hi, my name is Quincy Underwood, and I'm in 8th grade, and I go to McKinley Middle School. I've been in LBA for 2 years, and counting this one. Besides helping me mature and being more responsible, LBA has helped me keep me away from negative influences. Becoming more active, respectful, and learning the game of basketball are a few more ways I've benefited from being a part of LBA. The lessons I've learned have also taught me the importance of effective listening and communication. Success isn't handed to kids like me. They have to figure it out on their own. I've had to work to get to this point, but I'm also thankful to be in LBA.
My name is Madison Cooper. I'm in 8th grade. I go to Roosevelt. LBA has impacted me in ways that my mother and father could not. I was introduced in 6th grade. I'm in 8th grade now. And I don't think it would, at first I didn't think it would be very beneficial, but more of something to do with my time. LBA soon became a chunk of my life and soon became my dedication through basketball. As I went into 7th grade, I started to go downhill, dragging along my reputation, grades. I started doing drugs like marijuana and prescriptions that were not prescribed to me. And this is when LBA changed my life. From having people like Coach Albannon and Coach Jordan, people that didn't even know me but stopped at nothing to help. Because I've never seen a group of people so concerned, I felt like I had another family, and I think that a lot of kids in LBA feel this way, that LBA is a big family. And when they came together just to talk, like, as a group, as grown-ups, just to talk about me, how to get me on a better role when I didn't even know that I could have a group like this to even care about me, like, take time like this, and they do this for all of their students. With LBA's push and help, I became student president, and with this passion that Albannon gave me for basketball, and from all the people that have come so far and I think I'll never interfere with drugs again. So, yeah, leaders, believers, achievers.
Hello, I'm Amber Lewis, and I'm with Toyota Financial Services, and we are a corporate sponsor, support a lot of things that Leaders, Believers, and Achievers Foundation does. A few years ago, when LBA started, we started doing some informal mentorships where our leadership teams would meet with the kids, typically to play basketball or to talk about leadership or work environment type of things. However, most recently, we have partnered with LBA on a few things, one being Adopt a Road. Toyota Financial Services has recently adopted a few streets near our location, and so we bring on LBA with us to help clean up those roads a couple times a year, help bring, obviously some sense of community and partnership. But one of the things that really has been proven to be successful has been our summer work program that we introduced a few years ago. Toyota Financial Services has an internship program, and our goal is to provide underserved college students the opportunity to obtain some meaningful work opportunities and relationships. and experiences so that they are prepared for the workforce upon graduation. So some of the skills that those folks will work on are things like interacting with our key business leaders. They get a personal mentor assigned to them. They are able to help us with research, doing a different analysis based on various departments that we have them supporting. They get to understand our business as well as learn some of the things about the Toyota Kaizen Six Sigma way. And I will say that one of our most recent, well, not most recent interns, but a few years ago, Bryant Wright just got hired on to Toyota Financial Services as a full-time employee. So it has definitely come full circle, and we certainly appreciate the partnership with LBA.
Amber, one question. So
Yes.
are those are high school students or they're college students?
They're college students that were involved with
that
LBA.
were involved.
Mhm.
Okay.
So our goal is to keep track of these folks as they go into college and give them opportunities as they
Awesome.
further on.
Thank
Yep,
you for
absolutely.
doing that, Amber.
For
And
sure.
Toyota Financial. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Romorowski, and I'm the Associate Principal at Roosevelt Middle School. I would like to start by saying, contrary to popular belief, LBA is not just a basketball program. Over the years, the LBA program has grown and become part of who we are at Roosevelt Middle School. Like any other initiative for students, the success of that initiative is a direct result of the organization and commitment from the adults leading the group. The reason LBA has been so successful at Roosevelt is because of the collaborative efforts between administration at Roosevelt and the LBA staff. The administration at Roosevelt knows how important the LBA program is to our kids. Because of that, we have worked hard to support LBA at Roosevelt, and that means we take time to have honest conversations about what is going well and what we need to do to improve. But most importantly, we work together to help students succeed inside and outside of the classroom. And some of you might be wondering what that really means. So here's what it looks like at Roosevelt. It's 6:30 in the evening and I'm finishing up with supervision from an athletic event. And before I go home for the night, I stop down to room 226 and find LBA students listening to a guest speaker. I talk with Coach Al about some of the positive things the LBA kids are doing at school. And we take time to talk to a few students that might need some extra support. On another evening, I stop down to the gym, and kids are doing what they love most by playing basketball. However, it's not a free-for-all. Students are engaging in fundamentals to help fine-tune their basketball skills, all while the coaches are constantly helping students connect the game of basketball to what they do in their everyday lives. On another day, Coach Al decides to stop over to Roosevelt while school is in session because of a few of his LBA students are struggling in class. Al is in his work attire. He attends class with the students and helps coach them in an academic setting. On another day, Coach Al actively participates in a meeting with teachers, a student, and her parent to help get this young lady back on track. On any other given day, Al has helped us communicate with parents and has come over to Roosevelt during the school day on numerous other occasions when we were out of tools in our tool belt and needed help reaching a student. The point is that kids see that the adults at Roosevelt care about LBA because we are present when they are participating in LBA, and they see that Coach Al cares about their learning because he is present during the school day to help coach and guide them in an academic setting. Some of you might be asking what kids really say about LBA, and we've heard from a few of them today, but today I also talked to a few kids, and one of the students said to me, LBA helps me set goals for myself and be positive. I'm expected to communicate something I've learned, one positive thing that's happened, and one goal I have. Another student reported the coaches try to motivate us to do better in school. They bring in speakers to talk about their struggles, and it helps me make better decisions every day. Not one student started off by talking to me and saying, LBA is a basketball program. The power of the LBA program comes with the investment we have made together in our students to show that learning is important both on and off the court. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Justin Blitz, Associate Principal at McKinley, and I'll echo a lot of what Sarah had to say. As far as working with LBA, we've really been fortunate to have that collaborative partnership in our building. One thing that we've really worked on this year is trying to become a trauma-informed organization or a trauma-sensitive organization. And one thing that we constantly go back to with that is that it just takes one authentic relationship with an adult to really transform outcomes for students. And I think listening to the kids today, you can hear that they really, have that family vibe with LBA, and they really have those strong relationships, which is huge. Then when we can bring them into the building and kind of work together, we have that real symbiotic relationship where when I'm working with a student, we can reference back to those purpose statements. We can look at what those passion projects are that they're using at LBA and try to connect that to our curriculum to really support those kids. And then on the flip side, when we're, like Sarah said, when we're struggling with kids, Al and his staff is just more than welcome to come in and support in any way they can. So it's really been a great collaborative partnership for us that's really been helpful, I think, for us to support kids in as many different ways as we can. Thanks.
Any questions? Yes.
Mine is really not a question, and it's to the students sitting out there in the LBA program. Al, you should be very proud of them, and I want to thank you guys for presenting and providing us with the information. I understand when you have someone that cares about you in your life, they can make a difference. And so it's so great that you did come and present. But then I want to turn to Mr. O'Banion. And I know, Al, you are very passionate about the work that you do, and it shows in these group of students that you brought here this evening. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Other questions, Gary?
Just kind of in support of what Nancy said, first of all, thank the kids. It gets a little scary to come up in front of a group of people and open yourself up. But as a board member, we really appreciate, you made it real for us. You really made it real for us to try to understand a little bit more how difficult it is growing up. And the challenges and some of the things that you have to go through. So thank you for sharing. It really was worthwhile for us for doing it. And Al, as said, it's all about relationships, whether it's teaching, whether it's mentoring. It's about making that connection, and there's no doubt that that's what's happening in your program. It takes a village, and you're part of that village, and we and I certainly appreciate all the work that you're doing for our community, for our youth. Thank you.
And we appreciate your support.
Any other questions or comments? Keith?
We're looking at our graduation rates and moving them up, and this is the type of program that will help us accomplish that goal and really change lives. So we appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions? Well, again, I think from all of us, Al, and students, you're doing amazing work. The staff, I can't be prouder of the staff. And Justin's there. Jordan, you're there every day with them as well. I know, and as they said at McKinley, sometimes it just takes that one adult, and it's great because you've got a whole team of adults that are watching out for these students. So the more we can do that, I think, in all of our buildings, obviously the better. You guys have great outcomes from this, and we're glad to see that. And obviously, this program, we've watched it over the years, and you've developed and grown it, been willing to listen to suggestions, worked with the staff to come up with changes. So we're happy that that relationship exists, and couldn't be prouder of all of you and what you've done. So, do you have anything?
No, I just wanted, Theo, did you want to tell them what you said when we first interacted tonight? Yeah, I said, yeah. So Theo, I've seen you before. Yeah, that's how we started the evening right there. So, but yeah, thanks for this hard work. It's great stuff. So
well, the board wants to know if there's video of that anywhere. Anybody get their phone out? Unnecessary. Okay, we do have his review later. So, okay. That's great. That's great. We appreciate it. Al, thank you so much. On behalf of the board and the district, we appreciate you and your program. So
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to some Information, an update to the Facilities Master Plan Task Force. That'll turn it over to you, Dr. Buck.
Welcome, Rob, arriving in real time.
I think he's been lurking in the back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as you might guess, we had an update from Rob about a month or so ago. I think that's probably about right.
Correct.
And we, since that time, have had 3 community input sessions, and we have also had access to a community-wide survey. So Rob is here this evening, and he's going to give us some information related to that survey, those input sessions, and sort of just a general update since we were last together. So with that, Rob, welcome.
Wonderful. Good evening. What a way to follow. That was quite impressive. I should have recruited some of them to speak to you guys tonight.
Expectations are high, Rob.
I know, they always are here. What I want you to think about is, remember, our tagline is reimagine, re-envision, and reinvest. And those 3 words are important because as I give you this update, we're at a turning point of where we are in this process that we planned back in August. So much like our update that we provided you in April, I believe it was about April 10th, I'm not going to go over all of these slides. This is really for the benefit of those people that are following the process to be able to see how we've gotten to this particular point here in May. So if you remember, we had different roles that we've been trying to follow. We have this ACE concept of academics, culture, and economics, always the driving factor in a lot of the conversation we have with the committee. We finished phase 1, so we won't talk about all the things that happened in phase 1. We're in the middle of phase 2, and you can see where my red line circle is. Here we are after those public inputs. So the last board meeting we had with you, we were talking about what were we going to learn potentially at those public input sessions. So now, tonight, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we learned and some of the expectations that the committee will have as we move through the last 3 committee meetings, with the end goal being having a recommendation to you, the Board of Education, about the direction facilities should actually go through. So we had different key elements and goals. I told you the ultimate goal is that recommendation. We went to that public input session. Remember, we had the belief statements, and I think we have over to my right the big poster board that was at each of these public inputs. Those belief statements being a core element of how the committee is moving through the process of establishing what they think the right school size should be, and potentially what this plan ultimately looks like in those 5 key areas. I always want to mention the enrollments. Our focus, for the most part, has really honed in on the elementary level because of the dollars you've already placed in the high schools, and really a lot of the financial and building conditions of the elementary buildings has really kind of created this essence of what could we do with those elementary buildings. But we have about 7,200 students that we're thinking we have over the next 5 years, and likely as we go from years 6 through year 10. We had a lot of budget information. We have a lot more budget information when it comes to the Pebble that we'll be sharing with the committee tomorrow night, related to some information that Steve is, I don't know how he put it all together, but it's really great information to understand what the Pebble dollars will mean. We had a lot of conversation at the public inputs about the reasoning for a 600 elementary size. And a lot of that was well beyond what we would think about with the dollars. It was really about what the experience would be for the students, what the experience would be for the teachers in that building, particularly as it related to the planned learning communities. And if you remember, before that public input session, we had a really good conversation here with the board about what does that really mean as far as what it looks like with your special education population, your ELL population, and whatnot. And I think all of those things are getting put into the mixer for the conversation that we talk about tomorrow. But I thought it was important to note elementary size is more than just the dollars and the efficiency. It's about the experience that may happen in those buildings. Here's another graphic through the data that Steve and Rob provided for each of the facilities that again was on the poster board that illustrated just bringing those buildings up to a particular standard. There's a cost associated, and most all of the buildings are between 11 and 14 million dollars to just bring them up to the standards of the HVAC, the roofing, ADA, security. Nothing about innovative programming per se when we talk about this and what we saw in the building tours. So again, some visual of what that reality is for the existing facilities. We shared this with you based on the individual building and what this potentially would look like as you look at some of the efficiencies. Again, from that dollar part, remember the ACE concept, academics, culture, and economics, focusing in this case on these last couple slides on the economics, the reality of your situation. Ultimately, with the three concepts that went to the public inputs, we had one that was looking at all 600 buildings, so it was option one. We had another option that was looking at 3 450 buildings and 10 or 600 buildings, and then option 3 was 4 450 buildings and 9 600 buildings. Again, looking at some of the limitations or some of the advantages of where those 450s might be more beneficial than a 600 building, and that is related to the site, might be dollars that could be or have been invested in those buildings, where students reside and whatnot. So again, the realities of where we were before those public inputs. So with this, if you can cue up the K-12 survey, I wanted to take some time to walk through the survey piece that really through the partnership with K-12 Insights, a really well-rounded survey to try to get at the work that the committee was presenting at those public inputs, where we were at. So I'm going to try to go through the slides so that you can understand how the questions built into what we can have for some initial takeaways. The other thing that I want you to understand with this is K-12 Insight is still working on some of the data through the survey to pull out some of those other nuggets of how other things are related based on the responses they gave through the survey. So with that, with this survey, I told you it's a partnership with K-12 Insight and RSP as we tried to help them understand where the committee was at the point of these public inputs so that we can garner some needed information on are they going in the right direction. Or a visual that I'd like for you to think about, particularly as we talk about whether it's academic success or the financial realities. If we could go back in time and you think of the Titanic and it's going to hit that iceberg. If that captain had known that they were going to hit that iceberg well back, would if he turned the wheel a little bit to miss the iceberg? I think we all could probably say yes. With this facility master plan, some of the things that we're embarking on, the cold realities of where we'll be in 5 years, 10 years, this is very much that same illustration as we know where we're potentially going to go. Right now we have the opportunity to steer that ship a little bit to miss that iceberg and provide opportunities for these kiddos and for the parents. So with that, take in mind some of the details that we have with this study. The survey ran from April 18th through the 28th. And what we're going to see in these next few slides is how that breakdown was with those particular demographics. We had that 1764 on this particular slide. Those were actually emailed out. So those are likely parents and or staff of that 1764. That 216 number, those are people that went to the survey through the web link. So that gave us a total of about 1,980 responses to the survey. So a lot of responses. You can see the breakdown of how they answered the particular demographic question of whether they were a resident, a guardian, a former student, and whatnot. So again, we have this 1980 as our total number. The next slide of data that were provided from K-12 Insights gives you some information about some of the consensus items such as learning environments for the students, which is the first bullet points. And you can see whether if it's agree or strongly agree, those are the greens. So where we have a lot of greens, that would indicate that there's some consensus on each of these particular items. And unless you want me to go over each of these specifically, this is what this particular slide addresses. The next couple slides get at what the committee, or not actually the committee, what the community knew at the point of taking this survey. So what did they know about enrollment? Did they know that enrollments used to be at 24,000 students at the for the district, and now it's about 16,000? And so you can see that less than 50% knew that that actually was the case. We look at the capacity, and we talk about the underutilization at the elementary level. Again, you can see that less than 40% really knew that that was an actual fact of what was occurring in the district. These two slides, K-12 indicated to me, indicate that if there's more education on what's happened with enrollment, what's happened with the capacity availability, there may be a better understanding of the direction that you all need to go with the usage of your facilities. So that's really good to know that there's that many. The other nugget with those two slides, when we get to some future slides, is that you will see that there's a learned process as the survey takers were taking the survey. And that was kind of one of the things that we were trying to aim for in this survey, was to give them information. If they didn't know the information, then how would they respond to where the committee was at the point of these public inputs? We look at the building age. You can see that greater than 50%, almost 60%, understood that the age of the buildings was quite old. So again, just driving by and then seeing what new facilities look like, there's quite a bit of difference, right? We also see with the school improvement costs, we also see here that we're less than 40% that understood the cost to reinvest in the buildings and how that related to building new buildings that were greater than 50% of the cost to build new buildings and build new 600 buildings. So again, a lack of them understanding what the financial necessities are for the buildings. On this slide, when we're looking at the classroom model, you can see that how the support would be for the students and the teachers with having an up-to-date facility. And you can see that we're at almost 70% understanding that there is a connection between the facilities, the teachers, and the environment the students are able to experience. We look at the number of elementary schools. This was just kind of on its own question to understand what did they think about reducing the elementary inventory. And in this case, there was nothing in the question saying it was going from 21 to 13, just saying reducing the number of elementary inventory. And you can see that we have almost 75% that felt and understood that reducing the inventory could potentially be a good thing for students. We're going to come back to a comparison of slide 11 with slide 13, because again, this is a learned process as they went through this. We then had a breakdown of the questions that were asked about the three concepts. So whether it was all 600 buildings, 450, or 450 buildings. And one of the things that we can take from this is more persons selected responses to option one, which was having 13 600 buildings. You can see we're at about 49% that were at preferred or most preferred feeling about option one. If you go back to those slides, I think 5 and 7, when you look at what they knew about the buildings, the enrollment, the capacity, the finances, that's quite remarkable that through this process we have almost 50% that are understanding with concept one what that means with reducing the inventory. Option 2, you can see, was at about 45%. Option 3, about 40%. And then when we get to people that would prefer something different than what they see, we have 34% of those respondents saying they potentially thought something different should be considered. The value, this is where I take a little bird dog before we finish with some of these surveys, that's the value of this process that you guys agreed to back in August. This information is going to go to the committee tomorrow night, and they're going to have time to digest what this means and understand if the direction is 13 buildings, maybe it's something different, based on what we're seeing with the responses here, what the committee members heard at those 3 public inputs, all of the Let's Talk comments that occurred those 3 nights at the public input, that will be infused in the dialogue tomorrow night with the committee to help come to what their consensus is to start building upon what we've learned in this process. So if we come to slide 13, I said slide 11 and 13 kind of show you a change in where now they're given all of that information previously that they maybe had known or did not know was put into this question. So the number of students, the capacity, the financial implications of replacement versus building new, and we see that there's been a little bit of change if we compared slide 11 to slide 13. What K-12 Insight will be able to provide us as they dig into this data is who moved between those subgroups. Did we see new people that, let's say, were at support, did they move down to saying that they have no opinion or they oppose, or did we see people that were opposed move up their chain as they understood the information? So this answer and how they answered the other questions, we're going to start seeing that connectivity. But again, we see that we're at 76% that are in favor of going from this 21 to 13. I shouldn't say favored, they have some sort of positive feeling toward what that may mean for the experience of students and whatnot. The reality when we roll out a plan, because at this point we don't know which sites, which buildings, specifically, do we have 450 buildings that maybe relate to the conditions of the sites, like let's say Johnson and Taylor? Do we have other things that we may want to consider with, let's say, Grant or Hiawatha or Viola Gibson with investments or the newness of Viola Gibson? So there's some things that the committee, as I said, they're going to have to dig into in these next 3 committee meetings. They're going to help provide that framework for what this recommendation could look like. As we moved into the secondary components of this with the middle schools, you can see that the 2 different questions that we have here with the middle school and the high school, you can see that when we're asking, are there other improvements that need to be made to the district with the middle schools, we have less than 50% that say something should be done to the middle schools, and at the high school, less than 37%. I think at the high school, that's attributed to, I think, Steve, was it roughly $80 million over the last 7 years that you've invested in those buildings? That's likely why that's as low as it is. Middle school, I personally think is people don't understand middle schools. I have middle school students, so I don't understand my middle school students. So what is that experience like, and what does that space need to be for middle school students? There's probably some more information that will be able to be pulled out of that middle school component.
Was there any information about middle schools in any of this, or has there been information about middle school potential improvements throughout this process?
Yeah, good.
And we're focused on elementary. so-
Good question. With the committee, the focus has been on the Pebble funds that would be allocated towards the middle school and the high school. Then at the middle school level, there's been conversation of relocating Metro High School to one of the middle schools. There's been a little bit of conversation. We'll see how it happens over the next few committee meetings of could you repurpose a middle school? And this is where I can't remember if, when I spoke to the board, when you take these 800 to 1,000 capacity middle schools, make it an elementary, and then you match that up to the committee saying 600 was really the most they wanted to see in elementary. There's maybe some opportunities, but there's some challenges with those middle schools to do that repurposing. So there's been some conversation, but the bulk of the work the committee's been focused on has been at the elementary, because we've done a lot of work at the high school, and then with the middle school, we know there's quite a bit of available capacity, but when we look at the cost to build a new middle school versus the improvements that need to be done to a middle school, they don't rise to the level of cost of that greater than 50%. That's kind of been the benchmark we've been utilizing in the committee for why you might consider a new building versus refurbishing, renovating an existing elementary building. Kind of wordy, but that's...
No, thank you.
Do we, Rob, do we have the information of what the needed renovations to the middle schools, what that projection looks like over the next 5 years. I know we've done some investments with HVAC and to some of them and so on, but they're still ongoing. I would like to just see how that breakdown is to what a replacement of a middle school would cost and where we're at with some of the renovation and so on.
Absolutely, we can make note. We have cost estimates that Steve has provided with the middle school, but absolutely get that to you.
Because I think also is a key that the design of the space and what a middle school design could look like and how it fits into, again, some fairly old, in some cases, facilities. So even maybe not cost-wise efficient, but learning-wise and what we want to see. So I hate to see elementary students going to a 21st century building and then being squeezed into a 20th century middle school.
That's a good point, and let me bring up one of the things that when we get to this efficiency, I think it was kind of one of those aha moments with administration as they ran the numbers, is when you get to the ultimate efficiency. I mean, not only are these educational benefits, but with, I believe it would be about 2.5 million, is that correct, Steve? But 2.5 million annual savings when you get to this efficiency level. Well, that could then mean when we're talking about the middle school that you go back to the middle school teaming concept that has been seen as most ideal for the middle school experience. So there's some things that could bridge the gap of the conditions of the facilities and how you're able to program. But we absolutely will give you that information because it's a value of this whole process, the facility master plan, right? Good questions. This next question that was on the survey related to Metro High School. And we can see that we're at about 64% support or strongly supports that program being moved to a space that would better equip the needs those students have. So already that's, I think, quite remarkable because a lot of people don't even understand probably what happens with those Metro High students. And so the more exposure they have to what that program is and the spaces they need, we already have a 64% supports for understanding what that may mean. So then the last things that K-12 wanted to kind of note was really each of these 5 bullet points. And I think it was this 91% of the participating community members agreed or strongly agreed that the district must be responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. I think that's good because whatever plan that moves forward, it's going to have to showcase that good stewardship, right? And I think you guys have done a good job trying to advocate and move that in that direction. And this goes back to that iceberg. If we know that there's some financial things that are going to impact what educationally can happen here, we're at the point in time where we can make some of those adjustments. The second bullet point, that gets back to those demographic details about capacity and whatnot, that there's some more work that we can do through this process, through the district educating and making people aware of the conditions that these buildings are in and why they need to change to provide students being able to be college and or career successful. If we look at then the next bullet points, you can see that 71% of the participants strongly supported or supported the number of elementary schools being reduced. So I think they're seeing that there's that inefficiency, the good stewardship, they're making that connection. We go to the next bullet points, you can see that there was greater, 72% of the participants expressed some level of support from going from 21 to 13 buildings, and it had the greatest amount of support with those 600 students elementaries. And that kind of, again, parallels a lot of the conversation we've had in the committee. We got to option 2 and the option 3 related to some of these aha moments about site conditions and whatnot. So we'll see how this kind of runs through the conversation with the committee. Last point to all of this. that I think is important for anyone that's listening in on this. This is a very transparent process. There's not been administration, I know most assuredly you as the board, and even our RSP team in saying, here's what you need to do. Where we've been landing with the committee is through their conversation, their investigation, the information that they're provided with the reality of what's happening in this district. And I think that's the most important thing to take away, because sometimes when you take these surveys, you think, hey, are they trying to get us to say this and this so that they do X, Y, and Z? And honestly, what we tried to work with K-12 Insight on was creating a survey that we could get some sort of understanding of what the community might think these three different concepts, these three different options, where they were headed. Are we on the right track? Do we need to change and go down a different path? And I think from the responses on this initial analysis we've been provided, it seems to indicate we're probably on the right track at all levels, elementary, middle school, and high school. With that, I open up to some questions, comments that you may have, and then I may have a couple slides if we switch back to the other that'll kind of take us to where we go from here.
Any questions? I do have a question. So finances, I know, Steve, you provided a lot of information that was in that first sheet. But when the folks took the survey, were they aware that these prices are not, I mean, the goal has been not to raise taxes to do this. I mean, if we have the legislative extension of the 1 cent sales tax for school infrastructure, that's the goal, to keep that within that stream and not to go out and ask for additional dollars. Is that correct?
President Lavery, that is correct. You know, all of the analysis that we have done are based upon the SAFE Fund extension through 2050 and looking at what we have currently obligated in the SAFE Fund for the things that we're spending money on now. We could have our first debt issuance on July the 1st of 2020, and about every 5 years have a smaller debt issuance incrementally, but a fairly large one, about $220 million in 2020 we would be able to start with. So there is capacity to fund this plan within SAVE over the horizon should we be extended without any reductions, any diversions of these resources to other non-school infrastructure needs. We would have the resources to do this.
Thank you. Other questions? Keith?
I'd like to see a comparison of the voters that vote in school elections and so on. And I think we have this data of how many actually have children in the students and the people that are voting. This study is obviously district residents, and I think that's a relatively good turnout on a survey like this. Is that right?
Correct.
But, you know, the picture of the total population of the community, I'm not sure that this is such a good representation of those that, what percentage is it that actually have students in the district right now? It's under 20%, something like that.
About 25%. We usually say about 25%. I don't know if that's still accurate or not.
So, you know, so we can get a comparison of the total support of the community, and then, you know, other groups in the community of the support that would be out there. And this is a great beginning, I guess, but like to hear more from other communities and groups and so on, and also informationally, you know, what's going on, what are we trying to do, et cetera.
Are you talking about surrounding communities that
No,
are doing this, or
no, I
people
mean
that are within the
this
community?
So I know one of the things you've tried to do, at least, is in the committee that's looking at this, is have representation across lots of different demographics. And I don't know, what was it, almost 100 people, 90 to 100 people involved?
Yeah, and they're involved, could be city persons, business owners. There's a whole collective across the district. We even have, I believe, 2 or 3 people that's, they don't even send their kids to Cedar Rapids schools. They've sent them to private or parochial. So there's a sample. Now, does that represent, as you're indicating, the entire community? No, but at least we're trying to, with the committee, reach out and get their understanding as a taxpayer, maybe not someone sending to receive the services, but their feelings of what would be best for this community.
So one thing that I had, Rob,
Raphael?
oh, sorry. Or did any of you guys have something else? Gary, I think.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm looking at the participation. I mean, 1,900 total responses, not ideal. I understand that. I think it was better than what happened in December. I'm thinking about the information from the public input sessions. Do we have any kind of rough idea of how many people attended? And I think you said K-12 Insights is still working through that information that'll be presented tomorrow. Is that right?
That's correct. What we
Okay.
have from the survey is we had a program that was set up through K-12 Insight that was called Let's Talk. And people were able to provide their initial feedback of what their perceptions were of those 3 concepts or what they learned in that process. That information is going to be provided to the committee, and it's as you can imagine, as people typed, it's
Right.
like free flow. And so to extrapolate out specifically how that relates to this, K-12 Insight is working on that because they don't want to put things into what they wrote that means something different than what they actually typed
Right,
in.
because I'd be interested in that to see if they kind of match up in some way with what showed up on this particular survey. Because, from what's here, it's clear that we have a huge opportunity as a board and as a district to further that communication and education of what the needs are currently and what the needs are going to be in the future, and making sure that community members, parents of future students, current students, that they're aware of what's actually out there and what we're looking at for the future to actually do. So I'd be interested to see that. Is that information that would be available to us as well tomorrow once it's put together?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you know if it'll end up being similar to this, or do you have any idea on format or what it might look like?
What the format will be that we can make available is literally what they typed in and what that data dump looks like. We've contemplated, do we clean up the prose? But in some ways, it just, for transparency, it may just make it better that this is what they typed in. We don't try to make any determination of what that might.
Okay, so it might be a little bit unwieldy, at least to start with.
It might be. There's about, I think, 6 word pages between the three nights.
Okay.
I think it was about 2 pages each night.
All right.
Gary?
I think from experience that I have seen and other board members in this community, it's hypothetical now, and people tend to be a little bit more neutral when it is. When it starts getting down to more specifics, and it's, oh, I didn't know you were talking about my area. I didn't know you were talking about my school. Then there seems to be a different reflective process that goes into from the public as that happens. And I understand the process we're in now. We have to have some direction going forward to present to the community. I guess I'm just, with the survey and so on, I'm just a little bit, take it with a grain of salt that this is where we are right now, but as we move along, there will be, I think, more comments and more discussion that will occur as a result of it. And the other, after going through this legislative session, I'm a little leery of where we are with the 1 cent, with the extension of the SAVE. I believe that there probably will be something, but they have a year to think about it, and I think that's dangerous as they sit back and what they can do with. So there may be an extension, but I'm afraid there may be amendments that would be attached to it as we move forward. So plans would need to be flexible, I think, as we move until we actually see what happens with that funding.
Other questions or comments? I would just say, too, for the board to keep in mind that we do have an active committee appointed by the board that's been appointed for the purpose of taking this information and helping us evaluate it. So just as board members, to be somewhat cautious about diving too deep into specifics at this point. At this point, that may not be the role of the board, so you're all individually elected. You can do how you want, but I think this process has been laid out. We sort of agreed to it. So, we have this touch point. We have more committee meetings coming up and another touch point. So these are really great times to ask questions, to ask maybe a direction that we'd like to see this committee go deeper into, but for us to make, references or to start formulating decisions at this point, maybe still just a little bit too premature. But don't hesitate to ask the committee, Dr. Buck, Rob, if there are things that we need to know as a board as it gets down to this final recommendation. And again, at that point, it really does, a lot of this will matter on finances, obviously, so we're all keenly aware of that. And depending on the finances, who knows? I know for myself and the rest of the board, we've agreed that we're not making a decision at this point. We may have individual understandings. Some of us have more information. Our kids have gone through more recently than others, whatever the case may be. But really relying on that committee of citizens that are across the spectrum to help us with that decision. So we want to applaud them and Rob for your work helping us get through that. 11% response rate on that survey, from what I know about surveying, is actually a pretty good response rate, especially if it was, across that spectrum. So that's certainly helpful. And the more of those types of pieces of information we can get, the more healthy of a decision I guess we'll have. So thank you. Any other questions or comments? Brad, anything else, Rob?
Nope.
I would just kick out, I'm sorry, Rob, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
So just one other reminder, we have that timeline in front of us. So Rob and his team will be in front of this board in the second board meeting in September, that first meeting in October with some recommendations, an opportunity for public input, and then some final recommendations and a plan. So Gary, your points around level of specificity and feedback, that's likely to get tightened up as we get more information from the board. Yeah, so that's fair.
And I think I'm sure this will come, but in plenty of time before September 25th and October 9th and so forth, we'd like to have a discussion with administration and recommendations of what's worked in the past best for those public input sessions at the end of this process or towards the end of the process, because again, getting as many voices, being as transparent as possible in this, I know is important to this board. So, but sooner than later, we'd like to have sort of that discussion so that the board can respond to that in a public, transparent way. All right. Anything else, Rob? Or?
Nope, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your work on this in the committees. So, all right. Next, we'll move into the human resources section. We have 3 different agreements with our collectively bargained groups, 3 of our groups, and because there are some differences in these groups, we'll go ahead and do votes separately on each of the 3. And Rod, I don't know if you have any general comments as we go into these. Okay, great. Well, we appreciate your work on this. So the first is BA 17333, the 2017-18 Terms and Conditions of Employment for the employee groups, the administrators and non-administrative meet and confer. So with that, are there any questions or comments from the board on that? Okay, so at this time, is there a motion to approve the contract for the administrators and non-administrative meet and confer group?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And this is a roll call.
Director Anhalt.
Aye.
Director Jansen. Aye. Director Jacobo.
Aye.
Director Meisterling. Aye. Director Humbles. Aye. Director Westerkamp.
Aye.
President Laverty.
Aye. Next is BA 17334. It's the resolution for issuance of administrators' contracts. Again, any questions or comments from the board before we vote? Great. Is there a motion to approve the resolution for issuance of administrator contracts?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is a roll call as well.
Director Jansen.
Aye.
Director Jacobo.
Aye.
Director Meisterling.
Aye.
Director Humbles.
Aye.
Director Westerkamp.
Aye.
Aye.
President Laverty.
Aye. And lastly, we have BA 17335, the 2017-18 terms and conditions of employment for the bargained employee groups SEIU Local 199, Educational Office Professionals Union for the secretaries, Local 2003 Public Professional and Maintenance Employees for our painters, and Local 308 United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America for our carpenters. Local 199 Service Employees International Union for our custodians. Again, are there any questions or comments about any of these proposed contracts? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve these?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is a roll call.
Director Jacobo. Director Meisterling. Aye. Director Humbles.
Aye.
Director Westerkamp.
Aye.
Aye.
Director Jansen.
Aye.
President Laverty.
Aye. All right. Just, we will do a motion here for moving into a closed session. Just a reminder, after we do that, we'll have a retiree recognition. So the board is being asked to move into closed session for the evaluation of professional competency of an individual whose performance is being considered. Is there a motion to move into closed session?
I move the Board of Education hold a closed session on Monday, May 8th, 2017, to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to those individuals' reputation, and that the individual requested a closed session as provided in Section 21.51I of the Iowa Code.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
This is a roll call as well.
Director Jacobo. Director Meisterling. Aye. Director Humbles.
Aye.
Director Westerkamp.
Aye.
Director Jansen. Aye. President Laverty.
Aye. So before we move into our retiree recognition too, I just want to remind the board that we do have your calendars. There are a lot of activities coming up in the month remaining with graduation ceremonies and so forth and retiree recognitions. So please take a look at that. We do have your meeting evaluations. And with that, I'll turn it over to the retiree recognition.
The Cedar Rapids Community School District is proud to recognize the career contributions of our retiring employees. The efforts of these teachers, support staff members, and administrators have enriched the lives of thousands of students and have strengthened the district and community. I'm pleased to congratulate them on their accomplished careers and to thank them for their dedicated years of service.
We're pleased to recognize Linda Lehman for her 20-year career with the district. She currently serves as the elementary music specialist at Truman. She previously taught music at Garfield, Jackson, and Madison elementary schools. Thank you, Linda, for sharing your talents on behalf of students. Congratulations on your retirement.
I am going to miss the kids. There's so many wonderful children here, and I get to have them for 6 years if I have them from kindergarten through 5th grade, and seeing them grow up and seeing them mature and seeing them learn things in music and grow musically as well. I think maybe the most rewarding thing has been putting on concerts with the kids, because they, even though that's also the most challenging, they love doing it so much and they really rise to the occasion and do their best. I'm looking forward to spending more time with my grandchildren. And I'm looking forward to having some time to read. I love to sing, I like to garden, I like to play games, I like to get together with friends. Just, there's a lot that I'm looking forward to.
We congratulate Jan Anderson on her 19-year career with the district.
Jan currently serves as the teacher librarian at Hiawatha and Viola Gibson Elementary Schools. Earlier in her career, she worked at Kenwood Elementary School.
What I'll miss most is probably all the friends I've made over the years, the kids. It's just some of them have been really special. The best part of my job is all the variety I have. You never know what from one day to the next what's going to happen. We have grandchildren who are just getting to the age where they're involved in lots of activities and going to get to watch them. Our son and daughter-in-law are involved in a mission organization in Haiti, and we're probably going to be going down there to help with that. Getting to read adult books will be something new and different this year.
Ann Hoshold is celebrating a 27-year career with the district. With the exception of 1 year spent at Hiawatha Elementary School, Ann dedicated her career to the students of Harding Middle School. She taught a variety of music classes during her tenure, including vocal music, general music, and band. And for the past 14 years, orchestra. We congratulate Ann on her years of service and wish her well in retirement.
What I will miss most in the district is the kids and the staff, of course, and the music faculty is top-notch. The best part about my job is that I get kids in 6th grade that can barely play. By the time they leave 8th grade, I'm lucky enough to get to have them for 3 years. By the time they leave, they're quite proficient, and I'm really proud of them. One of my big plans is I'm going to work on our family's genealogy, and then also I'm going to probably get back into teaching private piano lessons and start a studio.
Marcia Hughes is celebrating a 21-year career with the district. She has served as an enrichment coordinator, student internship coordinator, volunteer services supervisor, and for the past 13 years as the district community relations supervisor. Marcia is also a founder of the America Reads Reading is Contagious Literacy Celebration.
Working with the volunteers, working with our business and community partners, helping to bring those individuals into the classroom to enrich learning and strengthen the environment for our students. The best part of every job I've had with the school district has been working with our volunteers and our community partners. So I'll really miss the opportunity to connect those folks with our students, but I still intend to connect them with other parts of the community. I can't imagine that any new adventure is going to include getting up at 4:30 or 5 to deal with weather announcements. And I probably won't miss that part very much.
Mike Schneckloth is celebrating 34 years as a teacher in the district. Mike dedicated his career to teaching 6th and 7th grade math at Roosevelt Middle School. We thank him for his service to students and wish him all the best in retirement.
I think the thing I'll miss most about my job is working with the amazing staff here at Roosevelt Middle School. Our staff goes above and beyond, helping kids and helping one another on a daily basis. The best part of my job and what I've enjoyed is the opportunity to coach, and I've coached track, basketball, tennis, and an intramural basketball program known as the RBA, the Roosevelt Basketball Association for 6th graders. I look forward to spending more time with my family. I look forward to increased time with my hobbies that I have, and then maybe even pursuing some hobbies that I haven't ever done before. So looking forward to that.
We congratulate Cindy West on her 31-year career with the district. She currently teaches Spanish at Jefferson High School. She has also served as an English as a second language teacher, served as the district's world language facilitator, and taught at several of the middle schools as well as at Washington High School. Thank you, Cindy, for your extraordinary dedication to students. Best wishes in retirement.
I'm going to probably miss my students the most. I enjoy the youth that they bring to me, and they keep me young. The kids are just so special, and I just love being a part of the Jayhawk community. Been traveling with students since 1977, and I enjoy it. I love seeing the sparks in their eyes when they see a new culture and they're excited because they can use the Spanish that they've learned in the classroom. I'm going to spend a lot of time with my family. I have 2 amazing grandkids. Hopefully I'll get more. And I'm going to spend time with my kids, my son and my daughter, and my husband, and maybe we'll travel. I don't know. I'm still waiting to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up.
That's awesome. What a legacy those teachers all have in the district. With that, the board is going to move into closed session, and we thank everybody in the audience for being part of our meeting tonight. Thank you.